Welcome to Destination Linux, the high-octane agency of open source sleuthing, where every commit is a karate kick against proprietary crime. Straight out of Charlie's Angels, I'm your Charlie this week, Ryan, calling the shots from the Linux hotline with my elite trio of tech angels ready to bust closed source syndicates wide open. Good morning, angels.
Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
Oh, man, so much power. It feels so good. All right. Jill is our Sabrina Duncan, sharp-witted animation professor, angel with a vintage PC stash, cracking UX cases faster than she can hotwire Commodore 64. Her creed, if it's not open source, it's just a crook's encrypted vault. You hotwire that type of computer, Jill, often?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I have
cool.
before, yeah.
I bet you have. Wendy is our Kelly Garrett tech savvy, shutter snapping photographer capturing Linux solutions with pixel perfect precision and disarming firewalls with a flash of her lens. Her mantra, shoot free, code free. In fact, I think you're going to be shooting free this weekend too in the mountains. So it
in the mountains, yeah.
fits. It's what you do in the mountains. This week's mission, we're diving into Ubuntu and Nvidia. They're up to something super special. Plus, we've got additional news from Nvidia. And in fact, Wendy, did you just turn this into Hardware Addicts? I'm realizing that this is like a Hardware Addicts thing.
I might have thought that this would be a good, almost good Hardware Addicts show. We're missing a key part of that, but next time.
Next time. Yeah, I love it. I love it. A lot of people want Hardware Addicts to come back. So this is a little sneak peek into what used to be a very, very popular show with Hardware Addicts. And you're going to be really excited about some of the topics that we have. We're also going to tackle listener feedback on AI creeping into browsers, expose the Steam malware scam shaking the gaming world, and spotlight Scapy or Scapy. We're not sure. We'll find out later what Jill decides to call it. The packet crafting tool that's pure angel fire, plus more high-tech surprises. So grab your walkie-talkie. People still use those? Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe.
In the mountains.
There you go. Sync your repos and remember, in open source, we don't just fight for freedom. We code it with style. Angels, let's roll. This is Destination Linux. So you may have noticed, as excited as we are and very thankful that Wendy is here, that Michael is not here. So wanted to let you know that Michael he's okay and he's recovering, but he was involved in a very serious incident. He got really hurt, broke some bones, had some surgery, but is well on his way to recovery. I've spoken to him several times since then, but that's why he may not be here. Well, he's not here this week, and he may not be here next week. And we don't know how long it will take for recovery, but he is going to make a full recovery. And obviously, I want Michael to come here and be able to tell his story and his side of everything. So I'll let him go into the specifics, but just know he's recovering. He's okay. We're going to miss him, of course, but we're very thankful. Wendy, you're here as always to kind of step in. And if you're not familiar with Wendy not only edits our shows, but also, which all fancy edits when my face turns into a donkey because I talk bad about the editor. That's Wendy. You're also on another podcast, Wendy, out there that comes out sometimes. You want to tell people about
Linux
that?
Out Loud. It hasn't been coming out as regularly as it should because my robotics schedule has been a bit crazy. So if you want more of me, you can go find me there on Linux Out Loud. And I might be around here for a few weeks until Michael's ready to jump back in. So,
yep, there you go. Now, I did, when Michael had his surgery, I called him afterwards. But before his surgery, I had talked to him and asked if he could get in contact with a surgeon to see if they could fix his face. So when he comes back, he told me, unfortunately, the surgeon could not get his face fixed in the same surgery as they were repairing stuff. So just wanted to let you all know that his face will remain, unfortunately, the same. So I couldn't be too sweet about it, Joe. I had to throw something in there a little bit.
We actually, Michael, our hearts go out to you. I actually cried a bit because he could have died from this. This was something very serious.
Mm-hmm.
It was very serious.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just happy he's going to make a full recovery. And I'll tell you, The big thing is that he wore a helmet. So I will tell you that part of it, that if you have kids, if you ride motorcycles, if you get on scooters, you do any of that type of stuff. I know there's sometimes like, oh, I don't want to wear a helmet, blah, 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 blah. I could tell you Michael probably wouldn't be here
without it
if he didn't have a helmet. So again, I want him to tell the story. He wants to tell the story. I talked to him specifically. That's why I'm not going into details. But when he comes back, he'll definitely fill us in on all of that. Jill, we got some community feedback from Dantum, and they say, hello, Destination Linux. I will admit, I didn't watch all of your podcasts. I mean, nobody's perfect, but you can still make up for that if you want. But in my defense, I'm new to your channel. Anyway, have listened to some of your points of Vivaldi and the rejection of AI before work caught me off guard, and have some thoughts. While I think that Vivaldi's decision to not include the garbage AI feature, I wonder where they stand on the AI thing. You know, do they like it? Do they hate it? It's really hard to tell. Such as summaries is a good thing. And I also agree with John's point on how AI is making the art of research less fun. I'm also worried. You see, AI has opened a new age of tech, and the incorporation of it has become a necessity, not a choice. I'm starting to hear, to your point here, people saying that they're getting rated at work on how often they're using AI tools. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So like there was a person telling me that they get marked if they've only used AI a certain amount of times during the week. And they're like, well, you should be utilizing our AI thing more often and stuff like that. So I think for customer service jobs, for people doing research, for tech stuff where you typically have scripts, a lot of that stuff is now in an AI agent or bot, and they're expecting their employees to utilize it. Now, some people speculate that these companies are enforcing that because that's how they're going to replace you, right? You're teaching this bot how to do your job, and eventually it will do your job better than you. So that's why they're putting pressure to make sure you're utilizing that. Now, not all companies are doing that, but that's certainly a risk and a fear out there. So in any case, they go on to say, today Vivaldi has refused to incorporate AI, but what is going to happen tomorrow continues to refuse to incorporate AI. What's going to happen with tomorrow? Will they not become relevant or not relevant? And even if they decide to incorporate AI, will it not be too late? That's the biggest threat to privacy-focused companies and nonprofit organizations. Apple was late to the game, and something tells me they probably will not climb steadily into the future if Apple is shaken by the rise of AI. Then Vivaldi will be as well. I think this is a really interesting point. So, you know, Apple, the whole Siri thing, their capabilities with their phone, you look at what Google Pixel just announced with their new 10, they basically did nothing interesting with the hardware. Very, very little. Their processor's always been on the slower side because it's actually focused on just doing AI. So from a gaming standpoint and other things, it's like really bad benchmarks on a Google Pixel device compared to like Samsung and other things. But what Google's silicon does really well is AI processing. And some of their new features are kind of like, we'll automatically send the calendars and things in your contacts for messages. It tries to interpret what you're going to be typing. And of course, all of this to us, especially in the open source Linux world, are probably like, that's a huge privacy problem. And you'd be correct. It's really, really bad for privacy. At the same time, one of the things I've noticed is people always give up their privacy rights for convenience. If given the two options, they'll always choose convenience. Now, if they're kind of on the equal ground, they'll go privacy. But they more often are going to lean towards that convenience factor. So that's where it becomes really scary. I think an AI for Apple is really interesting because Apple tries to process as much as possible on the device, and they have a much more robust security and privacy built in by default. Now, not Graphene OS level, but if you're comparing Apple to Android, there's no comparison when it comes to privacy just out of the box. And a lot of things is because Apple wants, number one, Apple's not a marketing company like Google is, so that doesn't make where they make the majority of their money. But number two, Apple does try to process things locally. That has been a huge detriment to Apple because Siri is really far behind.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they are.
really far behind. It's a terrible
Has
AI.
been for a long time.
Mhm.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's not really ever been good. I can't think of a time where it's been really useful.
As far as I'm concerned, that's been a meme forever, is asking Siri something and getting the wrong answer or some weird thing or I can't help you, along those lines. It's never been a good assistant for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I find it so bad, I actually yell at it. Like, it actually triggers me. It's so dumb that it's hard to even utilize it, Like,
Yeah.
it's so bad.
Well, I know people that have iPhones that say about, like, particularly the maps aren't that great.
Yeah.
The integration is good with the other apps, but the maps themselves aren't great, but they are improving.
Now, integration-wise, Apple really did
Nailed it, yeah.
They nailed it better than anybody. But I will tell you, last time I was on Android and was fully utilizing it, I can tell you Android's taken a lot of those gains, like holding the headphones near it and it pops up automatic. A lot of stuff has improved there with Android and using NFC well, like Apple does. But I think Android is definitely Google Gemini, which kind of was bad when it came out, has improved tremendously. It's gotten so much better. Whereas Siri has not. Siri relies on ChatGPT for pretty much everything. So when you ask Siri questions like, do you want me to ask ChatGPT? And at that point, why it's asking you is it's going to send your data over to ChatGPT, right? And process that. So it's not so private anymore when that happens. But I think it's a really good point that Apple is late. They've been shaken by this AI thing. And the rumor is that they're even considering partnering with Google Gemini to bring some of those features locally onto the Apple device. And that was like shocking to me if that rumor turns out to be true. But I also understand why they might do that because they don't really have a viable solution right now for their AI stuff.
Apple just traditionally hasn't been very good with cloud-based mechanisms.
That's a good point.
This isn't surprising.
Yeah. They've not really taken on to any of the enterprise level stuff for a long time. They go on to say, privacy-focused person who hates the annoyance of Windows. That's why I've been a Linux user for over 20 years. But there are other people who don't care about privacy. I would say probably, unfortunately, the majority of people don't. Such people will see AI as a powerful, innovative step to the future, and privacy will be an old-fashioned thing that isn't applicable today. Totally agree. Even when I have conversations with people, I feel like at some point they're looking at me like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat when I'm like, hey, you can install DuckDuckGo on your Android phone and put app tracking protection. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, why? I don't care. Everybody knows everything about me anyways. Like, that's their go-to. And they kind of look at you weird. And I'm like, fine, I'll just sit at dinner and shut up. This is what they go on and say. This is what I was worried about. Vivaldi and other projects, nonprofits and companies who outright refuse AI will be left behind and relevant. And yes, I know Vivaldi is a browser and anyone can log in and search whatever they want in the search engine as AI summaries. But in the eyes of the vast majority of people, which browser is better, Vivaldi or Opera? Question mark, because Opera has all the AI bells and whistles. A lot of people lured towards Opera, not Vivaldi. Anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks for reading the comment. Really awesome comment, by the way. Lots of information for us to talk about there, Danton. We did cover, if you go through the rest of the episode, some of our thoughts on this. We had the same concerns as you that Vivaldi would be potentially left behind here, although, the incorporation into the browser itself right now isn't there's not a lot of huge advantages to it. Most people are going directly to the AI website and doing their chats and things there.
If they're wanting to using it, they're going to ChatGPT, they're going to Gemini. Firefox does have a side tab, but you can use Hugging Face through that. You don't have to use ChatGPT or Gemini. So you could go straight to it or use it in their sidebar as well. And that is open source AI. I've thought about playing with it before, but every time I log into Hugging Face, I'm a little overwhelmed with all of the options that are available to play with there. And then my ADHD panic sets in and I'm like, oh, I can't do anything right now. So
it's funny that overwhelms you, but you could sit there and build robots all day.
I know, right? Yeah, that totally overwhelms me.
Yeah. So to Wendy's point, there's a lot of add-ons and extensions that you can use that are AI for every browser. So
Yeah.
they're available, and that's no problem. And actually, one of my favorites is Minstrel. It's Mistral. It's been around for a long time, and
I'm
it
just
has been one of
wondering
my
how
faves.
important having AI directly on the browser, not visiting the site, will become in the future. And I'd probably have to sit here and kind of envision, and think about what are the possibilities of what that could do differently than going to a site itself. Maybe, when I open the browser, I can tell it, just start speaking to it. Hey, go to this website. Hey, do this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe there's some other integrations, check my mail, tell me the latest notifications. Here's the thing. I think Vivaldi is putting their foot down here, but that doesn't mean they have to stay there forever. I think right now Vivaldi's has the opportunity to stand out in a market where there's not a lot of competition, but the competition is very embedded. You've got obviously Edge now, you've got Chrome, and then you've got things like Vivaldi and Opera. And when we were researching this, I had no idea that Opera was way bigger than Vivaldi. No
Yeah,
clue.
we were surprised. And that was why earlier, Ryan, I was saying, it might be that Opera gaming edition. I know a lot of gamers have been using it, and
And
it's
Opera
really
was really
taken off.
popular, you said, back in the day on mobile devices, right?
Yeah. In fact, on feature phones, it used to be the only browser available. And
Very
so
interesting.
it's been around for years and years, and it's gone in and out of, popularity. But when they started including VPN features, I noticed a lot more people using it. And I personally like it too. I have used it during the show.
Yeah.
But I was actually surprised, only because Vivaldi, everyone in our sphere, in the Linux sphere, uses Vivaldi or Firefox.
Well, not everyone. I'm
Firefox.
still on Firefox. So
Ew,
Yeah.
gross.
Well, that's why, Vivaldi or Firefox are kind of the two big ones in the Linux community. Hmm.
Yeah. I think they can change their opinion on this. And what I mean by that is down the road, I think it's going to become very important, and I think open source will drive this, for people to have models that they create themselves that are local. And in that case, Vivaldi has the opportunity to later adopt some local modeling and things and really stand out amongst the pack. So just because they're not integrating it now in a formal way, I think it would be really wise for Vivaldi to spend their time partnering with some of these local model systems and seeing how they could integrate those in the future, to where you could really basically say, hey, if you want to utilize AI and you don't want to be giving away all of your secrets and thoughts and everything else, use Vivaldi, and you've got more of a local model running. And I think that could be super awesome for them. So I like their stance, just like you, and I hope it works out for them. But Vivaldi's always got this upward climb. This is a very competitive market, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. In fact, I think search engines are the ones that are most in trouble, because I see a future in which people are just going to be going straight to their AI, will be their homepage, and nobody's going to be searching through Google and other things,
to be
because
fair,
it's just a waste of time.
so many search results have gotten so bad that you almost are having to use some of the AI searches. And I like to reference back my younger robotics team. Last year, the project they were working on was dealing with oceans and building subs and the like. And so they knew what they wanted. They knew roughly the size of those things that they wanted, but they weren't sure what off-the-shelf parts they could pull to make this project work. And all of the other searches just were not pulling the data that they needed in order to come together with this and able to say, hey, AI, this is what we're wanting to do. This is the parameters that we're in. And it was able to pull up research and also like open source CAD files that they could use in order to finish creating their project, because all of the other search results were not giving the information that they needed. And when you're dealing with things that are in such a time crunch, you don't have the luxury of spending a week, 2 weeks to go through all of the search results in order to make that happen. You have a deadline. You have to meet that deadline. And so I can definitely see going to a search being far less useful in cases like that.
And I
Yes.
think AI gets things wrong a lot. I was working on
Oh,
a pretty
definitely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
depth coding project this
Mhm.
week, and I have access to models that aren't even public and very high end pro enterprise level models. And they get things wrong so bad that it made more of a mess than it helped with. And in addition, if you ask it to analyze data and things, it always wants to give you the answer you're looking for. So if you have any bias in your answer, like, does this number equal 8? Then it's gonna find a way to be like, yes, that number totally equals 8. Like, it just wants to, even if it's absolutely wrong. So, but those models are getting better. They're going to continue to get better. They're going to continue to get more precise. And I think for individuals who are sitting on the sideline going, I'm not touching that stuff. If you're retired, cool, you never have to. If you own your own business and you don't touch it, cool, you never have to. But I think for a lot of the young people and stuff coming up, and even those our age that are still in the workforce and things, working for companies, I think you better spend some time learning how to properly prompt and utilize AI in your day to day, or you're just going to be left behind, much like people who didn't adopt the internet or even computers for that matter were left behind. So that's my thoughts. Jill, if there's another thing people have to have, it's Sandfly. You got to learn AI and you got to install Sandfly. Those are like the two must do's. And as Linux users, we know what's up. Security is non-negotiable. With threats getting smarter, we're going to talk about some of those threats later on. Your security tools need to keep pace without dragging your system down. Traditional agents, they can slow you down and they can leave blind spots. That's one of the downsides of them. Because people are leaving a lot of comments, yes, there can be positives also for installed agents on your machine. But one of the known downsides is they slow your system down, and that can matter for a lot of enterprises. That can be a big deal. So it's time for a smarter approach. That's why Destination Linux is proud to be sponsored by Sandfly Security, revolutionary agentless platform designed for Linux. Go right now to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy. Timothy Lisko of DigitalOcean says Sandfly is one of the most exciting pieces of security tech that they've seen recently. We're excited to not only be a customer, but also offer an integrated solution to our customers through the DigitalOcean marketplace. This technology addresses Linux security in a really novel and compelling way. Sandfly doesn't just detect and respond, it revolutionizes security with SSH key tracking, password auditing, drift detection, covers threats from all angles. It doesn't matter if your system's on the cloud, on premise, or embedded devices. That's one of the advantages of having an agentless platform. Sandfly ensures they're all secure without the headaches of having to deal with installing agent-based solutions on each individual one. Experience security that's not just effective, but gives you peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting-edge protection.
So, Ryan, did you know, and do all our viewers know, that the Home Edition is not only now available, but you get a discount on the purchase with the code Destination50 or DESTINATION 50. Gets you 50% off this amazing software. Dive into the future of Linux security at destinationlinux.net/Sandfly. That's destinationlinux.net/SANDFLY and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy.
So I saw this article, but I was a little worried to bring it on the show because sometimes when you talk about something negative, people will kind of take that as the whole thing is bad or the whole thing is negative. And I'm going to talk about something related to Steam. But my goodness, Valve and Steam have been so good to the Linux community that without them, we would have never been as popular as we are. So every company, everything has its good and bad. And here we're going to call out something that I think Steam could do better in, but that doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they could do better in this little thing. Many of us try to escape the real world through gaming. Gaming is a huge stress relief for a lot of people. I know that it's something that, I can look forward to if I find a really good game on the weekend. All week I'm working and I'm thinking, man, if I could sit down, if I get through this week, we'll be able to play this game and have some fun. A lot less now that I'm in college do I have that opportunity. But when I do, it's a lot of fun. And so games are amazing. Yet hackers and scammers They never stop. They don't care how somebody enjoys something, how serious something is, or who they're hurting. They just want to go out there and either create chaos or steal money or do those type of things. And of course, that's what we're going to talk about here. So on September 21st, a security researcher and user exposed Block Blasters game, a free-to-play 2D platformer shooter developed by a company apparently called Genesis Interactive, as containing malware after it was updated. That's a key part, on August 30th, 2025. The game had been available on Steam since July 31st, amassed hundreds of fake positive reviews, including some that were negative. Those were legitimate ones, and infecting up to 261 users. When they updated, it introduced a crypto stealing Trojan that hijacks cryptocurrency wallets, browser data, and sensitive information. It was promoted via targeted message to crypto holders, trying to lure them, of course, to download this under the guise of this is a paid promotion. One of the things we get a lot of, obviously running a podcast that's heard all around the world with hundreds of thousands of listeners is, hey, will you guys promote this thing for us? And we can make lots of money doing it. So for that one person in our YouTube comments that keeps making something about like, you guys are getting paid to say, to sponsor whatever companies, we vet the heck out of the companies we sponsor. We have the opportunity to make a lot of money with VPNs, especially, that we would go out there and advertise and promote, but we don't, because when we bring a company to you, we have vetted the heck out of them, make sure they are the top, the best. We brought you DigitalOcean, Bitwarden, Sandfly. Like, these are all incredible companies that you can trust. It's very important for us but we get a lot of these emails asking us, will you promote our game, or mobile games especially? Will you promote our VPN? And Jill, what do we tell them? No.
No.
Jill was about to say yes. Jill, were you not listening to me again?
No, I was.
Jill was about to say, we're going to say yes.
Yeah.
Maybe she was invoking Michael right there. I think she was invoking Michael. We tell them yes. No, we tell them no.
No.
But a lot of people get who have small YouTube channels, who are just starting out. This is really exciting when you first, I remember, Wendy, when I first did my YouTube channel and I got my first person saying, hey, I want to pay for you to promote one of our items. I thought, that's so cool.
Nice.
And it made no sense because it was like kitchen knives or something.
Yeah.
YouTuber, why would I promote your kitchen knives? But
Are you a cooking channel?
No, I should.
I didn't think so.
I do have one video out there. It's very old if someone could find it, of me giving my chicken wing recipe out.
Is this a challenge?
Yes, it's a challenge to the community to find. There's actually a video that was taken down as well that's early on, which is me making a hummingbird cake. So that
yummy.
That's probably somewhere on the internet, but that one was deleted a long time ago as well. So, I mean, these are some artifacts out there that you might be able to find out there on the internet. But in any case, this malware stole a lot of money from people. And, this money means a lot to certain people. One particular case involved a streamer who lost $32,000 from a fundraiser for their stage 4 sarcoma cancer treatment during a live broadcast. And you may have seen the video going around. It's extremely sad. This person, is all excited, having a great streaming event, raising money so they can get treatment. And then somebody sends them a message with the donation and says, will you check out my game? They download the game, and all of that money they were raising, which apparently was in cryptocurrency, vanished. And it's just, that's where these people have no soul. They have no heart. They're just very mean-spirited individuals that will take from anybody or anything. And it's sad that we have to deal with and share oxygen with other humans like that. But here we are. The good news is a lot of good hackers went and tracked down how this app worked, how this malware worked. And they were able to see that it actually sends the information for the crypto wallets, it appears, to a Telegram channel. They're able to go in that Telegram channel and get the user IDs that were there. They're able to then take those user IDs and do some investigative work and find out that they use those user IDs on other channels, which led them to get the names of some of these individuals. And apparently the main person involved in this has been arrested. And if it is the person that they've posted a picture of, they look exactly like the piece of crap you would think they would look like. They're like sitting in this sports car. They look super, I can't say the words what they look like, but they just look like that kind of person. You're just like, yeah, of course it's them, type of thing. So
Grungy.
grungy. That's not the word I was going to use, but we'll pretend that's what I was going to say was grungy.
Jill is nice.
Sounds
You
nice.
should know Jill is nice. So
yeah, exactly. So the thing is, when they started looking into this malware, it's not like it was well hidden. It wasn't not hidden, but there were files like crypto wallet and other stuff within the game. And so it wouldn't take a lot of scanning, even automated scanning, even AI for that matter, should have caught before this game was re-uploaded that this game had something nefarious in it. And a lot of times, this is a popular method of scamming, is they'll take a piece of software, they'll get it out there to everyone. It may not have been their plan originally, but either the owner sells it, they stop supporting it, it goes away, whatever. Somebody else takes it over, updates it. But this case, they put malware, adware, other things inside of it because it's super popular, and it kind of ruins it. And Jill, we were talking earlier. What were some examples of this in the past we were talking about?
So the CD burning software, Neuro burning ROM, that came with almost every CD burner you would buy in the store was infected with really bad malware. It was bad. I had to repair a lot of people's computers on Windows from that malware.
Yep.
And then WinZip, one of the most popular apps available at one time, was having a lot of issues. So
now, I remember WinZip and Nero both having like adware. It wasn't like malware. It would basically just take over your extensions and your browser. I mean, it was like malware, but it was really selling like ads.
Yeah. Although Nero Burning ROM later on had an even worse one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was history, because I remember it went from being ads to being worms.
Oh,
wow.
Man.
That would get in all the exe files on the system. So
that's crazy.
That was a thing.
So this isn't the first time it's happened on Steam. There's a couple other times where malware has infected certain games and things here.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, a couple of things. One is Steam holds some accountability here that, they should have some automated scanning and systems in place. One of the things I love about Steam is they keep the developer fees really low. If you want to launch a game, it's $100 and you're on the biggest digital storefront for gaming there is. Like, that's very cheap. Some people are saying they should raise it to 10,000 and everything. I hate that idea because I think it limits so many creators and young people from getting their game out there. This was not well-designed malware. The fake reviews and things is another thing that Steam could have a system in place to be checking and looking for as red flags on these things. A lot of the stuff they don't have to throw manpower at to even fix. You could do automated systems to grab. But this is a similar problem that Apple App Store has to deal with, Android App Store has to deal with. Anybody who has an app store has to deal with this type of thing. Even Flat Hubs and app stores in Linux could have things like this take place and have
I've
in
had
the past,
things found
including
in
with
both
Arch.
the Snap Store and the Flat Hub.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a real problem. If you have something like Sandfly, frankly, it's going to be able to alert on these weird changes and things going on. In this case, this virus wouldn't even worked on Linux. It was an exe. But there are cases that, these things can work on Linux. But it stinks that there are times that people write us and they say, hey, I just created a game. Will you guys check it out and talk about it on your channel? And we don't charge for that type of thing if it's an indie developer. And, we'll talk about anything that we think is cool. But now I'm going to be looking at a link going, probably not. I'm probably not going to click on that. And that kind of stinks that we're in that place. Or maybe I'll just have to create a special computer. I mean, I don't have a crypto wallet for you to steal to begin with. So I don't know what you would get. But maybe I'll have a separate machine that I just use for gaming or something to do it. I don't know, Jill. We'll figure something out. But
Yeah.
it kind of stinks that we're here.
It definitely does. But the good thing is on Linux, it's a little harder for that virus to travel, even if they're targeting Linux, especially if you're using Proton, because then you have a buffer there, a middleman.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could one day. I mean, who knows? We could have an infection of Portal, for instance, and if that gets infected, and those of us who run it on Linux, ooh, that's not good.
Jill would have 700 computers to try to repair.
Yeah.
I think some good ways to avoid this, because obviously we're not going to stop using Steam. We love Steam. We love Valve.
Right.
And I think Valve's already taken the game down. I think they're going to figure out ways to hopefully help this. But don't trust people who want you to click on links to try games. Unfortunately, we get, like I said, emails like this, and we're going to have to figure out something different. But, typically you want to do your own research. In this case, though, if you were reading the reviews and things, apparently the reviews were obviously fake. So that would be one thing to keep in mind.
I wish I could find them. They've already pulled it down, and so I'm curious. I would like to read those reviews, and you can't right now. At least not that I can find. Maybe in the Wayback Machine, I might have to see if I can pull it up in there. If I can, you'll be seeing it in the video version of this episode, because I'm curious. I want to know what they said.
Yeah, I'd love to see that too. If you're using Windows, you better have some malware protection. You better have some good malware protection. You're going to need it. And just because a game is safe now doesn't mean it will be after an update. We mentioned that before. So Steam, get a better vetting process. I think the times are changing, and it's much easier with AI as well, for somebody who knows nothing about hacking to say, hey, here's some code, write something that does XYZ into this, and then basically have AI writing their code for them. It doesn't require a lot of skill as it used to anymore to pull off this kind of stuff. And since our governments can't get along, they're all attacking each other with these cyber attack things constantly. Once they attack once, that code is out there. People can then grab that code. And now you have very sophisticated attacks that are being used for very small targets, such as somebody's crypto wallet or a streamer's machine or whatever. Just be careful out there. The world is a dangerous place, which is why we have Charlie's Angels here to protect you. So I like to see it. All right, Jill, what's going on with Ubuntu and CUDA?
Yeah, some very good news. Actually, huge news in the world of Linux and Ubuntu regarding CUDA. So for our viewers who don't know, what is this thing called CUDA, or capital CUDA? It stands for Compute Unified Device Architecture, and it is a proprietary parallel computing platform created by Nvidia in the early 2000s. In fact, I've been using it since then as an animation instructor and a freelance animator. It is an application programming interface that allows software to use certain types of graphics processing units, or GPUs, for accelerated general purpose processing. So CUDA not only makes general purpose processing faster, but greatly expands its usefulness in science and high performance computing. So Canonical, the makers of Ubuntu Linux, is adding NVIDIA CUDA to the official Ubuntu repositories, making it much easier for users to install. This change, it simplifies the current installation process, which previously required users to manually download a .deb file, install it, and import a GPG key, which wasn't hard for us people that have been using Linux for a while. But for a new user, it's not the most convenient. And I know there's actually tons of web pages on there on how to do this for new users.
Yep.
Well, you'd have to even know you need CUDA. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
on,
Exactly. Got to know what it is and if you need it. And so this is an awesome result of a partnership between Canonical and NVIDIA to create turnkey AI solutions for the enterprise on Ubuntu. And by making CUDA readily available, Ubuntu aims to become a more attractive platform for researchers, developers, data science, who use CUDA for machine learning, robotics, and other computing intensive tasks. And for those of us in studios who use it for rendering 2D and 3D animation, visual effects, and editing. And as I said earlier, I was a 30-year animation instructor, and I still do teach part-time, and freelance animation artist. And I've actually been attending the largest animation and graphics convention, SIGGRAPH, when it is here in Los Angeles for the last 30 years. And since 2006, I have noticed a lot of Disney and Pixar employees doing their presentations using System 76 laptops with the Ubuntu-based Pop! OS to show off their latest animation software. So yeah, Ubuntu has become a heavy hitter in the film industry, and it's one of the reasons why companies like System 76 is doing so well.
Yeah.
So there
Jill,
was
are
a
you
need.
mentioning System 76 again?
Yeah.
How much did they pay you? This is the third time. Every episode now they put this in there. I want in on this action, Jill. Like, this would be one we would talk about as a sponsor that we would trust. No, System 76 makes some really good decisions. Yeah.
We've reviewed their products in the past, and
they're only getting better. I love their desktop solutions. I love their laptops. They have some laptops that are really desktop replacement machines, which I could see being really, they're not worried about thinness and all that type of stuff, although they're still quite thin. They're more focused on just raw power, which would be for animation and things really something you would need that you could carry around with you, which is really great. CUDA, is something that you're going to come across like with OBS Studio. You would utilize CUDA and things for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's for recording your own screens, and if you're doing YouTube videos and things, if you're doing any type of video editing, you're going to want to use the CUDA. Your CPU is just far slower on that.
Yep.
Yeah, and DaVinci.
Yeah, I have an Nvidia graphics card inside of my editing rig, and even inside of my portable editing rig. Both of them are utilizing CUDA at the time. And I know when I was trying to decide which distribution to use, it was also back in the days that I had an AMD graphics card inside of this system. But sometimes it was harder to get those proprietary blobs that you needed to get, say, OpenCL working properly. Like in Darktable for AMD, I needed that proprietary blob to get everything to communicate properly for that utilization of the graphics card. And so it's nice seeing that some of these, I don't want to say mainstream Linux distros, but definitely ones that's more on the popular side, that it's a lot of the ones that people just coming to Linux are using, to have that accessible to them and not have to jump through maybe some of the hoops that I've had to in order to get things up and running here in the last, I guess I figured out it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since I installed Linux, now over 10 years.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Happy 10-year anniversary. You made it a decade. Decade. And Linux wasn't so great 10 years ago. Like, it was good, but
it was good.
It wasn't what it is today.
It wasn't as bad as I hear some of the stories that come from like Nate or Michael or Jill when they're talking about some of their first time experiences. It was definitely more polished as far as that goes, but I know getting certain things up and running, even DaVinci, which is what I use to edit on, is still a bit of a pain on a lot of different distros. That's more DaVinci because of the libraries that they package with it. Completely different story. I could talk about it on LOL. Go there. You can hear about it all you want.
Yeah.
I might even drop the episode if I can pull it up. But it's nice for some of that stuff to hopefully be able to be a little bit more seamless in getting those workflows up and running.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you know, one of my first experiences installing CUDA was back in the mid 2000s with Maya. It had just the Maya animation package. It had just changed from being available on. It was that was when it was changing to being available on Linux, because it always had been on Unix. And to get CUDA installed on that, I probably spent about a week to get that to work, because there were no tutorials, nothing. You just kind of had to figure it out. Like, here's the binaries and figure it out.
You didn't have Google Gemini or anything?
No. Yeah. Previously, Maya was alias Wavefront on Unix. And the CUDA wasn't available then. So as soon as it came over to Linux, and then Nvidia started making the drivers, then they were available. So then we all wanted them, and I've used them for years. With Blender and 3D Studio back in the day. Softimage, Lightwave, all the things when I was doing animation for the film and television industry. So it's very, very important for those of us that are digital artists.
Yeah. And AMD's version of this is ROCm, right? Radeon
Yeah.
Open Compute.
Yeah.
And so they have an open source version, which technically, usually we would want to use more. And in a lot of cases, it works fine.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
Wendy will tell you with DaVinci Resolve and other things, there are certain programs where they are geared towards NVIDIA.
Mhm.
They will work with AMD, but they're geared towards NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And it makes it so that it's not as performant on
Yep.
AMD's ROCm. And AMD has a lot of work. I love AMD. You all know that. Go watch past Hardware Addicts episodes to know. I loved them before they were popular. But they have a really big problem with drivers. They're not really good on the software side. And I know Lisa Sue and them have been working really hard to try to fix that. But that's probably their biggest Achilles heel is the software side. So hopefully, eventually that comes around. But until then, I love that Ubuntu is doing this. This shows you how important it is for Ubuntu to have the partnerships and the enterprise and things with other big companies so that they can have this, because this becomes a licensing nightmare. Essentially, if Ubuntu was to package this without NVIDIA's permission, they could, NVIDIA could sue them for $1 bajillion, which would still mean nothing to NVIDIA. It would be like pennies in their couch, but they could. And so having this partnership means they can freely distribute it. It makes them one of the only distros right now that I know of that can. So that's a very, very powerful thing for Ubuntu when it comes to being a top distro out there. So very cool. All right, Wendy. Well, there's more NVIDIA news. NVIDIA just is stealing things like AI here, and they are kind of the big AI thing. So I guess it makes sense. What's going on?
Well, and we'll eventually get to NVIDIA inside this story, but we're definitely going to start with Intel. And Intel used to be at the very top of their game. They were doing awesome, definitely had beat AMD out. If you wanted a space heater, get an AMD. If you wanted something that would work, you go Intel, right? And things have switched. AMD has done so much better when it comes to their CPUs. And Intel has faced some serious issues with their stock, with Meltdown in 2018, Spectre 2018, and then Downfall in 2023 with these different exploits. Now, some of these vulnerabilities have been on both AMD and on Intel, but performance-wise, the fixes have definitely hit Intel a lot harder, slowing them down, making them not as powerful as they were meant to be from the manufacturer side of things. And so they've seen some issues when it comes to
I think also during that time, Wendy, like when you're looking at 2018 and things like that, this is a time when Intel was still kind of at the top.
Oh, yeah.
If I recall. And so, I mean, it was more of a struggle. AMD was rising, but they were still at the top. So what that means is when they were writing articles about these flaws too, they were going to focus on Intel as kind of like, hey, this is impacting every Intel out there because everyone was Intel
running an Intel
for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
interesting.
Took a major hit. And while they have put their GPUs out in the market, they just haven't been picked up as well, right? I'm definitely not running one. It's something I've been keeping my eye on. Jill has been able to run one for sim gaming, but it's not like, okay, I have my editing rig. Intel's got to the point where they're competitive and I'm going to swap it out for my NVIDIA card. No, if I'm swapping anything out, it's going to be for an AMD graphics card. Like Intel isn't in that loop when I'm coming to a rig that is doing hard work, that's pushing major amounts of data to it. It's just not currently been an option. And then we have Nvidia. So Nvidia is now entering the story. And to be fair, they haven't had a great last few years either. They've been really low in stock when dropping things. Scalpers have picked them up. It has been a nightmare as far as pricing goes, being able to get your hands on one. And then the 40 series had a serious issue when it came to their 12-volt adapters, where they were actually melting on PCs.
Yeah, they're melting.
Yeah, not good. And the 50 series hasn't been without its drama, because there have some, and it's not that many. I think it's like 0.5%, less than 1% of cards are missing ROPs, so render output units. These are very, very important for those to be able to be hitting the goals. And they're telling you, this is how much power this can run, this is how many frames. Like, all of that is important when you're talking about the hardware in these. And they've had 0.5% leave the factory, get in consumers' hands, supposedly tested, that are missing a chunk of those ROPs. So both of them have had a bit of a rocky past. Nvidia has definitely done better with the rockiness than Intel, because their stock has still been pretty high. Of course, they're dipping into that AI space, which is so big, putting out some of their own boards and such. Well, Intel decided they didn't want to join the AI game, and with everything going on, there's been talks. Nvidia has now bought $5 billion worth of shares of common Intel stock. So they're a partial shareholder now inside of it. And the whole part of this strategic collaboration is for Nvidia to dive down into that x86 market, somewhere that they haven't really been able to touch with their own chips, that Intel's done pretty good at over the years. And Intel gets to dip into some of that AI market without having to do all of that back-end work on their own. And their focus is not just data centers, but personal computers. So think about AMD, how they have the CPUs and the GPUs, and they work so well together because they can make both sets of chips run well together. And so that's kind of the idea behind this going on with Intel and Nvidia. What does this mean for AMD?
Yeah.
I don't know. Does it work?
I think this puts AMD in an interesting perspective. Number one,
Yeah.
Intel is a very important company to not only us as consumers to have competition, but frankly, they're a very important company when it comes to the U.S. innovation. Like, not being able to create our own chips is a huge problem. Not only has that put us militarily at a disadvantage, I'm talking about fabrication, but it's just a really embarrassing thing for a country that has a lot of the world's innovation when it comes to computers. So I think that, Intel has been working on Foundry. I'm not sure how far along they've gone on the Foundry piece, but when you look at money-wise, who has all the money, Nvidia is worth $4 trillion. It was a news article on this show when they became worth $1 trillion. Like, now they're worth $4.3 trillion. This company has more money than it knows what to do with, and nearly no competition. And if Intel falls out, then it's just AMD basically versus AMD versus them. So Nvidia. And Nvidia has already talked about creating their own CPUs. So they could honestly probably go work with TSMC and do what Intel has been doing and completely sink Intel if they wanted to. But instead, they're kind of doing what Microsoft did to Apple. Microsoft, back in the day, if you didn't know, Apple was failing. They're about to go bankrupt. Microsoft was involved in litigation for being basically a monopoly. And so they took a whole bunch of billions of dollars and invested into Apple to help them out, which now Apple, of course, is worth, I think, $2 trillion or $1 trillion. I don't know. It's so ludicrous anymore. Like, I feel like we're dealing with monopoly money. They're worth $100 bajillion. Like, it's just so stupid that these companies are worth this much now. But in any case, that's what it is. And, and then Apple obviously became a huge competitor to Microsoft later down the road, being able to utilize that money to invest. Similarly, Intel can actually really benefit from this right now. They've got some government money to help build their foundry, which is really important. And then they've got this now, which they can utilize to partner. And I could see some really compelling marketing here, having Intel inside with an Nvidia GPU built on the same chip. And so this is very exciting for Intel, maybe a huge potential for them to make a comeback, which I would be happy to see, because that will lower the prices theoretically. At this point, I don't even know, Wendy, but theoretically, it should lower the prices.
The part of the problem is AMD is definitely behind when it comes to those high-powered graphics cards. You don't see anybody going, okay, I'm going to build a monster gaming system, or I'm building a monster editing system, and the first thing that they think of is AMD. It's not. They're going with Nvidia graphics card. And so I was really hoping that AMD would step up their game, and instead they've kind of backed off on that high-end side. And maybe this will be just enough to give them that kick in the pants that, holy crap, we're on the verge of being where we were 10 years ago. So fingers crossed. I would love to see more equal footing competition between these two GPU and now CPU giants again.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Where AMD is suffering comes in the software space, like we mentioned earlier.
It's part of it.
When you look at their hardware, their latest GPU offering from a performance standpoint is super impressive. It's up there with some of Nvidia from a hardware standpoint, capabilities from a core benchmark standpoint. The problem is when it comes to a software execution and AI execution standpoint, that's where AMD is behind. And a lot of that is because of software base. And so really AMD needs to invest heavily in their software spaces to be able to keep up. I know they've been hiring people.
Crappy drivers when they release a graphics card. That would be amazing. Yeah. Please.
Yes.
All I hear when they drop a graphics card is, well, we've got this really cool card. It's not performing up to spec because the drivers are absolute trash. And then 3 months later, after all the hype is gone, they finally have their drivers figured out. Figure out your crap before you launch the card. Yeah. On top of that, I know, because DaVinci, every time I download a new version of it, they ask, hey, what's some feedback, especially when they're launching like larger versions. What was some feedback? And I know inside of that, I've said, I would love it if you equally supported AMD and Nvidia. Give us some options, right? Especially when it comes to prices. Nvidia has been absolutely outrageous. I know for my birthday this year, Magneto, my husband, if you didn't know, that was his name. That was this nickname he was given on Hardware Addicts. Long story. But he had said something jokingly, because I was like, I don't want anything from your birthday. He's like, well, maybe I'll get you that graphics card. I'll get a hold of the guys from DL and figure out which one you want. And I laughed at him like, no, you won't. He's like, why? And I'm like, because they're $1,000. And he's like, oh yeah, never mind. I won't.
That's kind of how, honestly, Wendy, your story is pretty much how my rig has stayed the same, because I'm like, ooh, let me go look for a new graphics card. Nope. As soon as I see the prices, I'm like, you know what? I'll just hang out here until, I mean, it's insane.
I grabbed a 3060 when they were reasonably priced, because I knew the prices were going to start skyrocketing.
We're going to go crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I also wanted to mention is this comes at the footsteps of Nvidia not being able to acquire ARM.
That is right. I forgot about that story. Yeah.
So that's a thing too. They wanted ARM because they wanted those low power processors. So
Jill, that's really intuitive to bring up, because I mean, obviously Nvidia was making that desktop play. They still may, but ARM was probably a big part of that play.
Yep. Yeah.
And now without that partnership, Intel is thankfully it didn't happen. Honestly, all of this merging of these companies is killing us. Like,
I know.
the death of our system working well is monopolies. And these monopolies now, when you go to a grocery store, 5 companies, all those products you see on the shelf and everything else, it's like 5 or 10 companies own everything in that grocery store, from the cheese to the bread, the Clorox, all that. Those products are like 5 to 10 companies. And this is the destruction of our system, because now nobody can compete. And, when you look at it from all the industries, the big industries, all of these companies collapsing and buying each other instead of innovating is killing it. So thank goodness they couldn't get ARM. And I just don't want any more mergers. Partnerships like this are okay. They're temporary, and obviously we need to lift Intel up. And Nvidia has plenty of money to do it. So I hope these companies don't merge. I hope Nvidia never buys Intel. I would hate that to happen. I love the partnership, but I want them to be able to be successful on their
Because
own.
there was a time when the head of Intel pitched buying Nvidia when Nvidia was in the crap.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen
2007,
because
2008.
the board
Yeah.
said no. So could you imagine maybe Intel at the time would have not done very well with it, and so it would have been a buyout that didn't work. We've seen plenty of companies do that.
Yeah,
Or
true.
maybe they would be an absolute bigger monster than they are now and could have not had this
AMD and
downfall.
ARM
I
would be
don't know.
dying to survive, right?
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what that would look like? But thankfully it didn't happen.
Yeah. I'm very thankful when those mergers don't happen. Companies need to innovate, not buy their way to the top. And, there's certain cases where industries can benefit from a merger, but I think we need far more. My personal opinion is we need far more scrutiny when it comes to these mergers. And
Yes.
as I understand it, having been through mergers myself, a lot of these mergers are bought and paid for. A lot of people's palms get greased in order for mergers to take place, versus people really looking and saying, is this the best thing for consumers? Is this the best thing for the employees and things? So anyways, that's a whole nother episode on its own. But Wendy, awesome that you brought this topic. I'm very excited to see what happens with Intel and Nvidia. And I want to upgrade. I'm just not spending $1,000 on a GPU. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah. I've upgraded just about everything in this system. Well, I mean, not the CPU or the motherboard, but I've done a major overhaul on my RAM. The next thing that really needs to get upgraded in order to make this system better is the GPU, and it's not happening right now.
Yeah. Remember, Ryan, not too long ago, we bought the highest end AMD GPUs, and I still have my 6950. I spent like 1,200 or something on it.
Oh my gosh, Jill.
Yeah,
Quit
because
throwing
I
your
bought
money
them
in my
right when it
face.
was new.
I have the 6900 XT.
Yeah, I remember.
I paid, I way overpaid for it. I remember it was like $700, but it was a steal. It was $700 because it was an open box at one of those, what is that, Micro Center? It was an open box thing, return at Micro Center. And I took the chance and I was like, ooh, this could be really bad. But for $700 when it was going for $1,000, that was as close as I was going to get to a deal. And it's been working ever since. It's been years now, and it's that I've had this. So, I mean, I'm not in dire shape, but I would love, honestly, to upgrade my GPU to some of the new generations. And in the past, that was never even an option. I would sell what video card I had there, throw a couple extra bucks on top of it, and I'd have the latest generation.
That
was part of hardware addicts. It was what
Yeah.
hardware is Ryan running this time, and then 2020 hit, and nobody could get anything, and it's just been a garbage can ever since.
It's been a dump ever since. Absolutely. Well, Jill, give us some good news. Tell us about a software pick we have this week.
Yeah, so this week's software pick is Scapy.
We're going with it. It's Scapy.
I'm just gonna go with it.
We declare.
Kind of like it's not scrappy, but it's better, so it's Scapy.
Like it.
So Scapy is a Python program which can be installed with pip that enables the user to send, sniff, dissect, and forge network packets. This capacity allows construction of tools that can probe, scan, or attack networks. This means in Python, with this tool, you can forge or decode packets of a wide number of protocols, send them on the wire, capture them, match requests and replies, and so much more. And Scapy can easily handle most tasks like scanning, trace routing, probing, unit tests, attacks, or network discovery. These are things that Ryan is dealing with every day.
Yep.
All the stuff you're doing in class, just not your network, right?
Hacking my own network.
Attacking your own network. And so the other cool thing is that Scapy can replace HPing, ARP spoof, ARP-SK, ARPing, some parts of Nmap, TCP dump, and T-Shark. So it's very powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one came up in one of our college courses, and I was just like, whoa, I've got to bring this on DL because I had no
Yeah.
idea it existed, nor that it was as powerful as the tool that it is. But it shows, number one, kind of the flexibility of Python. It's just such a flexible programming language. You can do so many different things with it. But this particular tool is very well documented, and you can kind of go in there and very good website, do some troubleshooting, learn about how to use it properly. Very, very cool, powerful tool to be used cautiously because you can get in a lot of trouble with these things. So use it in a virtual machine environment. Take two computers and network them together with a router and not connect them to the real internet and attack things that way. But be careful because I am living proof that you can attack your own ISP on accident with some of these tools. So I did do that and got a call, and my internet turned off for a few hours. So it happens, you know, you live
It
and learn.
happens. Definitely.
It happens. Well, that's it. A big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. And you can come join us in our Discord room by going to tuxdigital.com/Discord. That's where all the cool people hang out, I hear. If you want to hang out with all the cool people, you got to go to Discord. And then you got all kinds of friends because you could say, hey, I like Linux. Or I'm a huge fan of Jill, or I'm a huge fan of Wendy. Or if you really want to be popular, you say I'm a huge fan of Ryan. And then that, man,
Ryan's
you make
okay,
so
I
many
guess.
friends.
You're right. Ryan's okay, I guess.
You say Ryan's okay, I guess. Yeah. And then you'll get tons of friends that way.
You can also support the show by going to tuxdigital.com/membership. And then you can watch really, really fun versions of the show. There's usually some stuff that I cut out that you don't get to see on the YouTube version of it. Trust me, it's definitely worth watching the extended version of the show most of the time. Ryan typically makes a donkey of himself during those times.
What are you trying to say, Wendy? My goodness.
But you're my favorite donkey ever.
Oh, thank you. I think. Is that going to be a shirt now? Ryan, my favorite donkey ever. Yeah,
it could be. I'd wear it. Most definitely. And if you want to find out what shirts we have, go to tuxdigital.com/store. There you can pick up some awesome merch. Jill is wearing one of them. Ryan is not, as usual.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I am not either, but don't look at Ryan because the stuff he's holding up is absolutely useless. But they do have some cool stuff. I even have my own shirt there, Sinister Wendy, which that initial design was actually created by Ryan. Oh my gosh.
Right.
I gave Ryan a compliment.
I know.
It was perfected by
too.
Michael, but Ryan did have an initial
conceptual was
idea.
Me.
Yeah.
What is with your shirt, by the way, Wendy? What does meow mean with
it's from
a clay
Meow
face on it?
Wolf.
Yes, Meow Wolf in Houston, Texas. So our robotics team, the older one, got to go to Houston for World's International Competition. And while we were there, we got to go to Meow Wolf. It's really, really cool. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like this treasure hunt for facts. At the same time, you're going through this really weird like art thing in which you get to touch and I don't know how to describe it. I've got a picture of my younger daughter like walking into a fridge.
Yeah, it's an interactive.
Did she walk into it or did you kick her into it?
She walked into it.
Oh, okay.
Interactive art exhibit. And I know a lot of the artists that contribute. There's several Meow Wolves around the country.
Each one has their own story.
They have their own theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there's an outer space one, there's a time warp one, and
the one that we were at was the outer space one. So essentially, a radio station gets picked up, and you're on a different planet. So it's a ton of fun. We had a blast. We were there for like 4 hours, and I could have spent so much longer there. I didn't get to experience the whole thing as much as I'd like. So that's what this is. Yeah, wolf.
Wow.
That'll be a good reason to revisit it again.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
glad
Well, I
I
think we've
asked.
got the kids talked into, if they win their state again, that we're going to go somewhere else to one of the other premiere events. I've got my fingers crossed for the one in Canada because that one sounds like so much fun. We'll see. We'll see how the season goes.
I'm kind of bummed you were in Dallas and didn't let me know. I could have gone hang out with you.
I was
but
in
whatever.
Houston, not in Dallas, and I
Oh,
did
that's too
tell you
far.
I
Yeah.
was going to be in Houston, and you're
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's right.
"That's too far away. I can't."
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
5 hours away. Texas is so big, it's like it's hard.
Right.
But here's the thing. I'm surprised as cultured as I am that I didn't know about Meow Wolf, because I'm well known in Texas for being Mr. Culture himself. So I'm gonna have to go check this out.
Yeah,
And
they've been
not
around
nice to
for
lie.
years. It started here in California, of course, the company. So
Yeah.
why, of course, Jill, you
Yeah.
trying to snobbily talk about how
No.
California is better? Is that what you think? Just because
No,
you got nice weather?
we got the hippie movement and everything. So
Yeah,
that's
All
yeah,
of
like
that
the
fun
start.
stuff.
fair enough.
So make sure to check out all the cool shows here on Text Digital. That's right. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with geeky goodness. Head to textdigital.com to keep those Linux penguins marching and watch Wendy on Linux Out Loud. And this last
Nice.
episode, you had Bill on,
We had
right?
Bill on. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had Bill on, and we had a really awesome networking conversation. So if you want to deep dive a little bit into networking hardware and what some of the networking professionals use here on the network, go check it out. He is also on Sudo Show. I think they had a show drop recently, and hopefully a few more. I know they want to get more into doing live, like showing you how to do some different networking options and stuff inside of Bill's super awesome lab. So make sure you're looking into Sudo Show too.
Very cool. Everybody, have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. Thanks, everyone.
We love you, Michael.
We
See you soon.
love Michael. Michael. Hi, Michael. I hope you get better. I tried. It's the best I got. Did
For
good.
you, that's not bad.
Yeah,
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
For you, that's not bad.
I
Yeah.
did. I
That
did
was-
on the day of his surgery make the joke about the surgeon fixing his face, and
Yeah.
his response was, "They said they couldn't get to it this round. They'll try next time." So he still has a sense of humor. Thankfully, he still has a
That's
sense
good.
of humor.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's very important.
Yes.
So. All right. Well, we will see you all next week. Maybe Wendy will be here. Maybe not. Maybe we
We'll
won't
see
even
how it
have a
goes.
show. Who knows? It could be anything. Maybe Lisa Sue will be here. You don't
Oh,
know.
that would be cool.
No. I'm pretty sure she won't be here. Don't make promises you can't fulfill.
She could. You don't know. I mean, anything could happen between now and then, Wendy. You don't know nothing until it happens. So
If there's a donkey on Ryan's face right now, don't be surprised.
don't do it, Wendy. Don't you dare do it.
You know I have to now. If you tell me not to, I have to.
It's like a little red button in front of you. Don't touch.
Yes.
You're like, I cannot.
To be fair, I
Oh.
keep that donkey graphic inside of the DL file on purpose.
Really?
Yes,
You
I
keep
do.
it
It's a
there?
permanent fixture inside of the DL editing files.
I gotta hack you. Hey, Wendy, you gotta check out this new game. I'm gonna send you a link for you to download it.
No.
Yeah, it's really good. It's called Blockbusters. Blockbuster. You'll love it. Sending it right now. Just click the link. Okay, cool.